Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my podcast where you can gain insight on my perspective. My name is Hayden, and this is episode 12 of a series called 24 Lessons I've Learned in My 24 Years of Life. Today's episode, Lesson 12, Let It Go. Unfortunately, I will not be singing Let It Go from Frozen by Elsa. Sorry to disappoint. However, I did want to bring up that song for a specific reason. Elsa did make several good points when singing this song, and there were lessons within this that a lot of people maybe have glossed over. One of the lines that stood out to me was when she says, let it go, right? We've been known. And then she says, I'll rise like the break of dawn. This is her letting go of her fears and allowing people to misinterpret her. She's still gonna move forward and rise above her fears and live as her true self. Letting go of things is a really tough thing to do, especially when it's something that creates conversation. We hold on to things that no longer serve us, but they can become topic of conversation in attempts to relate to somebody else, or you feel that you can only relate to other people if you are bringing up the past or complaining or simply not letting go of something that happened way back when, or even the day before that still upset you. That's a good time to acknowledge those feelings, allow them to rise up, feel them. You don't want to shove them down. Shoving down your emotions, shoving down your feelings is probably one of the worst possible things you could do. Putting them on a back burner and not addressing them is neglecting yourself. And that's not something that is healthy for anyone. I know it may feel like the right decision in the moment because you're like, well, I need to focus on whatever the heck is going on right now. And maybe that's true. Maybe you're busy and you really don't have the time to deal with the emotions and stuff that you're feeling, so you push it down. But remember to bring it back up again later. Talk about it later. Bring it up. Feel those emotions. Address them. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way about this situation? Can we move forward from it? Because there's no need to be hanging out in the past so much, because that stunts your growth of progression. Many of us have control issues. We want things to go as planned. And when we don't let go of the control, we sometimes plan things down to the tiniest of details, and when something goes wrong, our whole world shatters because we thought we had it in control. And when something out of our control disrupts that, it shows us, it reminds us that we aren't actually in control of it, which then can bring in this fear of, I'm lacking control, I'm not in control of this. And not being able to let things go is a sign of control, is a sign that you have to control every aspect in your life. And for me personally, letting go of control is something I still struggle to do. I don't like to fall out of my routine because then I feel that I'm lacking somewhere in my life, and that's a personal thing I'm figuring out. Letting go of control is maybe allowing a friend to drive you around if you're somebody who typically drives. Let somebody else be behind the wheel for once. Trust them. Allow that trust to just flow and take you where you need to go. Let go of the fact that you always need to be behind the wheel, because it's exhausting, quite frankly, and we're all here to help each other. You are never truly by yourself or on your own. Even though some of us feel that we need to be on our own, we need to fully, functionally take care of ourselves by ourselves and not allow anybody else to do anything for us. That is also something I'm trying to let go of, is allowing other people to do things for me out of the kindness of their heart. When I was younger, I couldn't even take a compliment. I was like, oh, no, I'm ugly. Thank you, though. That's rough. Why would you even call me beautiful? Why would you say something nice to me? I'm not deserving. Key point right there. We feel that we aren't deserving of things, so we constantly neglect ourselves and focus on the time in our lives where, we maybe first felt that feeling, and we have yet to let go of that. But once we let go of that and replace it with something more positive, like instead of saying, oh, I'm not deserving, I'm not pretty, I'm not beautiful, I'm not handsome, I'm not anything good, until you replace those with something positive, you're not going to grow down the pathway that life is trying to take you right now. It's like, hey, we got so many other cool things that, like, you have so many cool opportunities coming up for you, and you have to get over this hump in order to reach them. But if we're staying focused on, I'm unworthy, I'm undeserving, you're going to stay stuck back there. And when you're trying to control the outcome of what comes next, you're not going to grow at all. or you're going to consistently be faced with all this resistance and sometimes heartache. You're faced with this resistance or heartache, or you're constantly shown reflections of the sides of yourself that you're not happy with, because you're always trying to control those sides of, well, everything has to be this way. I can't function in my life unless things are this way because of something that happened in the past. I'm now this, and I'm going to hold on to the fact that that happened and it made me who I am today, which is true. Something that did happen in the past has led you to where you are exactly in this moment. But if it's no longer serving you, let it go. At some point in time, I had to let go of the past and forgive myself for ever thinking the way that I did. I had to forgive what has happened in the past. I had to forgive myself and everyone else around me. Like, one of the main reasons I took my trip to Ohio was part of my self-healing journey. And that requires me to go back to the place that I said that I didn't like where I grew up, and to forgive myself for thinking that I did not like where I grew up, or forgive past versions of myself, or forgive people in my town that I held resentment towards, or family friends that I even held resentment towards, or family in general. I've let go of so much resentment over the last 3 years. And yes, 3 years. It's been a work in progress. But I did decide 3 years ago is when I was going to start letting that go. Honestly, going through the pandemic kind of made me realize what's most important, and that was keeping the connections that I kept trying to push away. And yeah, I let go of connections that no longer serve me. Especially from people that would constantly take and take and take. And I was like, am I doing that to somebody? Let me reflect. And I was taking attention. I was taking time away from other people. I was building, not resentment, but later it built resentment, but me developing jealousy of other people around me, because I was like, how do you get to live your life that way? How are you with that person? How are you in a successful relationship? And I'm over here. I can't control that because I'm focused on something that happened to me in the past, and it made me be destined to not be worthy and deserving of a good life, a good job, a good income, a successful relationship, a healthy relationship. I just thought I didn't deserve anything good because I could not let go of the idea that I could be deserving, I could be worthy. And not even that I could be, I am, right? So going back to one of my previous episodes where I talked about how words have power, it's the words you were saying, the things that you were telling yourself that are so powerful, and we don't even realize it sometimes. And it's a very scary thing when, you're growing up and you're like, oh, I was really mean to myself. I couldn't let things go. And now that I know how, I'm going to forever utilize that tool of letting go. And the more I let go, the more abundance that comes into my life. Whether that's love, money, experiences. There is more abundance in my life every day now that I've learned to let go. And there's some things I'm still holding on to. Why are there things that we are unable to let go of, or that we choose to not let go of? A lot of that resides in our comfort zone. We've been so comfortable living with the discomfort of not being able to let things go that when we try to let something go, we're being mean to ourselves in the process. We're not allowing ourselves to gain a new perspective or grow. We are staying pretty stagnant. And life is always flowing. Love is always flowing. We are alive and constantly in motion. Whereas when you are holding on to something, it can't go anywhere. It's trapped. You are bound by these chains of thinking that you can't be free. So you're holding on to this idea that this is how it's always been. This is how it's always going to be. Nothing will ever change. Change is inevitable, as we know. And some of us might not know. We're still learning. Like I said, you might gain something from this. The only thing people lose from this is maybe time, and time is a construct. But when you're holding on to something and you're unable to let go of it, realize that that's a sign of control. And realize that you do not always have to be in control. It is good to let things go unplanned. Let things unfold organically. Like, I love meeting people organically. What I thought at one time was, I need to be in a relationship. So I would be on dating apps and I would be searching and searching and searching and swiping and swiping. and I'm like choosing qualities in other people that I have yet to discover myself, but I know that they're there, so I want them in that person. However, that person is probably a lot happier and more secure than I am, so I would just be bringing them down. I wouldn't be benefiting their life in any way, and that was like a selfish thing for me to do because I couldn't let go of the fact that I wanted somebody of a specific caliber of emotional intelligence and integrity and similar values and beliefs, but I had yet to truly discover what mine even were, what values I held within me. There's been so much healing I've been doing over the last couple of years, and I feel like I've done the most healing for myself within the last year as a cumulative. I've just like been in this constant growth pattern, and seeing where I started and where I'm at now blows my mind, because not all I've been focused on, but a lot of what I've been focused on is truly letting go of things that happened to me in the past, because I used to dwell on them. And when you dwell on them, that's what your life becomes. So if you're constantly reminiscing on these situations that made you upset or angry or drama, and you're just consistently bringing it up, you're reliving those things and feeling those emotions constantly, which is exhausting. That is so exhausting. I find myself, when I'm ranting about something that happened to me, and not even to just one person, I feel that I have to tell my next friend, and then another friend, and then another person. And then by the time, at some point you just get so tired. You're like, I just need to let go, dude. I just need to let go. Why do I feel that I need to hold on to this? Sure, maybe something exciting happened, or something dramatic happened, or it's a fun story to tell because maybe it hasn't happened to somebody else, and you feel that it's so interesting, and you feel that maybe you don't even have anything else interesting to talk about, so you consistently bring up the same thing. But you notice that after you've already told one person, and then they're there for the second time you tell it, and maybe the third time, that person's exhausted by what you're saying, waiting for you to realize how exhausting it is that you continually keep bringing it up and you don't let it go. I've had a lot of conversations with multiple family members, multiple friends, even myself, of, oh, so every time we chat, we're going to bring up this, we're going to bring up politics, we're going to bring up religion and spirituality and everything else, and it's just constant arguing, and it's constant putting each other down. And I've had so many conversations of, even on this past trip, I recognized a pattern and I broke it. And I was like, I'm not going to talk about these things because they don't serve me. I'm not going to talk about this topic or this topic. I'm not going to entertain this person talking about a specific topic that is fueled by anger, resentment, and hatred, and the idea of like putting someone down to make themselves feel above, this superiority complex. It was crazy to see, because I felt like I was seeing from a third person point of view. And anytime I'm able to see from this perspective, I'm like, wow, we are so small. We must be able to let go of stuff, because if we are not always looking from this perspective, everything around us is minuscule, it's temporary. Does it make us feel big feelings? Sure, and we can acknowledge and address those things immediately when they happen. Something with me that I'm letting go of is how slow it takes for me to process things. And so by me always saying, oh, it takes me 1, 2, maybe 3 times for you to tell me something before I understand it, I'm setting myself up for failure. And that was an idea that I needed to let go of. That's how I learned in school. I had to hear it a third time in order to really understand whatever lesson was being taught to me, because maybe the first time I'm not interested in the lesson, so I'm not going to listen. That's exactly what happened. Lesson number 2, I know I need to listen to it, but I'm not going to do it. So the third one, I was like, I really have to pay attention and actually apply this for this to work. So by the third time I'm doing it, I'm exhausted. And that was a lesson I had to learn, was pay attention the first time and apply it. And if you still don't understand the first time, ask questions. One of my teachers said that there were no dumb questions, and of course I raised my hand and asked a very basic question that was like so obvious, and that's probably because I like wasn't listening or something. So the way I said it, they were like, I just explained this to you, so yes, that is a dumb question. I took that very personally, and I was like, great, I'm not ever going to ask any questions. So I didn't learn a lot in school, which is probably why I didn't like it, because I wasn't progressing in the ways that I wanted to. And I developed a fear of asking questions to some teachers, so I would ask my friends because they were a lot nicer about it and they were more patient with me, which thank you to all my friends I grew up with and went to school with. And I know a lot of them let me work off of their work just to get me through. I realized that that's why I probably didn't like school and didn't like learning, because I wasn't understanding it. And now I see myself finding topics and things that I'm like interested in, and I learn it and absorb it the very first time, and I'll ask myself questions as I'm learning it, or I'll Google questions while I'm learning it to get more depth. And another example that I had to let go of was, me not having an extensive vocabulary, or me always saying that like the people around me were so much smarter than me, so I was at a disadvantage. That's very victim mindset, and that's something I've always wanted to get away from. But since I lived in that for so long, it was a comfort to be in that slight victim mindset, which is what I was kind of in my previous relationships. Which I recognized that, and that was such an unhealthy way to live, and an exhausting way to live at that. Recognizing that I could move forward from that and understand that, hey, I can ask myself questions, I can learn from myself, and the resources and tools that I'm provided with, or that I sought out to find, there's always room for growth and improvement, so long as we're not staying stagnant. We need to be in this flow state of constantly going through these experiences, acknowledging them, analyzing them, deciphering, and letting go. So just like yesterday is gone, today is here, and now I'm focused on here and today. Now if something comes up from yesterday, I'll acknowledge it, I'll write it down, I'll ask myself questions like, what made me bring this back up? Why do I feel this way? And can we move forward from this? Or was this like an idea I was given, maybe something I need to look into? So forgive the past, forgive yourself, forgive others. Resentment is not useful. It blocks your pathway to growth, new opportunities, and new relationships. I promise you it's going to get better. And I know a lot of us hear that. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. And you're like, it's not getting better. It's not getting better. Good things take time. So something better is good, and that's going to take time. Only if you're putting in the work, though. Yes, everything around you is still in motion, but you also have to feel the ramifications from it. You can't go back in time and change anything that's happened into the past. All that we can do is acknowledge, accept it happen, and move forward from it. Be grateful for any lesson, growth, and opportunity or experience that you had from the past, and utilize it as you move forward. Utilize it now, today. We all make mistakes. It's a human experience to make mistakes. Animals make mistakes too. Being on this earth, there's not a single person that's never made a mistake, because that's how we learn and grow. And I know one of the most used examples is like presidents or inventors. They had to do 150 things before they even made it to be successful, or actually got the equation right or the invention right for it to work in the way that it was designed to work. So good things take time. And I'm grateful for those who have taken the time to make those things good. I myself believe that I am worthy and deserving of a loving, fruitful life. I don't believe that I'm destined to be sad. That's not a pathway that I choose, because I've seen the greater good in this world from my own perspective. And I believe that there's more out there, but like I said, one of the things that I love writing down every day as a form of gratitude is I am grateful for the life I'm living while pursuing the life I desire. I may not be where I want to be, but I am exactly where I need to be. And that's something I accept wholeheartedly. How to let things go. How? How do we let them go? A lot of us like lists, a lot of us like to be told what to do, and some of us do not. But when we're learning something, we like to be told step by step, typically, how to do something. So I formulated these bullet points for you guys to take a look at, maybe even write them down, to ask yourself these questions. It doesn't even have to be in this order, but as long as you hit some of these, you're going to figure it out for yourself. And even if you don't get anything from this, you're going to learn it eventually. If it's not coming from me, it's definitely coming from someone else. Allow yourself to feel and acknowledge the emotions and feelings. Step 1. Step 2, accept that change is possible. Change is inevitable. Accept something for how it was and how it is. And know that there is no changing the past. You can only change what you're doing in the present moment. Step 3, be kind to yourself in the process. Don't blame yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgiving yourself is such a big lesson. And if I didn't take the time to truly forgive myself, I still feel that I would be angry and resentful and unable to move forward. And I probably wouldn't have a lot of the people I have in my life. I mean, maybe they would come eventually. I'm grateful to be exactly where I'm at 24 years old. Even though I feel late to learning these, the more I talk to people that are a lot older than me, they're going through some of the same lessons, which is interesting because any person you meet is like a reflection of something within you. So if you start meeting people of the same caliber as yourself and you're becoming aware of it, it's just a beautiful thing to see. I don't know. It's a beautiful thing for me to see is when I'm seeing what I'm attracting. And then if I see somebody and I'm like, you're like genuinely, truly amazing and so kind-hearted and down to earth, and I'll get emotional in that moment because I'm like, oh, that's a part of me. That's something I'm seeing through somebody else, and they're mirroring me. This isn't about like self-centering yourself, but it's recognizing that you have facets of yourself that you see in other people as well, because they also do. And it's this whole stream of connections, this whole web that my mind's gonna, again, explode if I try to go down this rabbit hole talking about this stuff. But that is just accepting things for what they are now and accepting things for what they were. Always try to view life from multiple perspectives because that's where you find answers to questions that you've been asking yourself. When you're constantly looking through the same lens, you're not focused on anything outside, which tunnel vision is nice when you're trying to focus on a goal, but don't completely block everything out, because when you block something out, you're blocking a receptor, which then you can't receive something. So if you're constantly asking yourself a specific question, you're wondering why there's no answer, find the blockage. And then you've now opened that receptor, and you'll see that the question that you've been asking, you'll finally receive an answer to. Ask and you shall receive. Always recognize the lesson within the situation or experience that you're going through. Pay attention to the trigger, remember the trigger. And number 7, apply what you've learned from the trigger and use it for the next one that comes up. Soon you will find yourself ridding of things that no longer serve you, and you're going to allow the things in that are here to serve you. So yeah, sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself and the people around you is to just let it go. Life is so much better when we can let things go. I watched a TikTok a few weeks ago of this guy taking all these rocks, different shapes, different sizes, and he's at like a lake or something, and he is balancing them, and it's taking him hours sometimes to get all these rocks balanced in a way that he's been trying. He'll stand there, admire it for a second, take a video, take a photo, and then knock it over. And people in the comments are like, why are you knocking it over? That took you so long. That's such a big accomplishment. Why would you knock it over? And he said, to practice the art of letting go. Yes, that was a cool experience that I had. I got it to balance. I think that's amazing. I think that's beautiful. And I'm grateful that I did that. However, it's time to move on. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's podcast episode. I hope you guys learned something from this. Please leave a rating, review, like, comment, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. You know I'm going to make more videos, and I am committed to posting weekly for this podcast series. I really enjoy making these and listening to your guys' feedback. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in next week's episode.